I speak to you in the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. In this third Sunday of Advent, our gospel lesson provides us an opportunity to reflect on this concept of expectation. I can remember this event in my life, actually a whole season in my life, almost like it was yesterday. The year was 2005. I've been out of college for about a year and a half, and Kendall and I were in the preparations of getting married, and also at the same time we were in the application and preparation process for joining the Peace Corps. There was a season in my life where I was expecting huge transformations to take place. My whole world I knew was about to change, and I could not wait for it to happen. My young adult mind was just overwhelmed with the excitement of what I was anticipating to take place in my life. This idea of a lifelong journey of adventures with Kendall to be my wife, but also, too, this immersion into a foreign culture in which surely I would be a participant in some great work of altruism. Well, as those events came and have now gone, the wedding has happened, but we are still married. Thank goodness. I do give thanks for that. So that is still here. But our time in the Peace Corps, that time has come and gone. But what I'm going to share with us this morning is this concept of expectations. What I had anticipated for our wedding and the days, weeks, years, months, and all those that follow were to be similar to that of our favorite television sitcom. I mean, we all have those favorite shows that we kind of watch because it feels like, this is life. This is what it's going to be about. And as it turns out, marriage is nothing like our favorite television sitcom. But it is a nice escape. But it's not what the marriage is about. And the same kind of bursted reality came onto the scene during our time in the Peace Corps as well. For all that it was to us, it was a difficult, challenging time that I wasn't exactly ready for. But indeed, that's where we were called. John, in today's gospel, finds himself in prison. He's hearing about all of these things that are taking place about the Messiah. But yet, because of where he finds himself, he has a question. Thank God for John the Baptist to continue to speak his questions, even if there is some doubt amidst that question. But you see, John is in prison. John is in prison because for his life he had been speaking truth. And as he was speaking truth to King Herod about his lifestyle, John was put in prison. John was in prison. But I think there's also something for us to relate to as we look at this idea of trying to find out who Jesus is as the Messiah and this notion of being imprisoned. Because after all, what greater prison can we find ourselves in than unmet expectations? This notion in which we have our mind set and wrapped around exactly what we think something is supposed to be all about. We become a prisoner to that idea or that ideal, only to find out that it is not what we come to expect. So John is in this place. John is asking this question, is this the Messiah? Are you the Messiah, or are we going to wait? Do we have to wait for someone else? And part of the challenge comes in how Jesus responds. Jesus responds by telling John's disciples, report back to him, what do you see and what do you hear? The deaf can hear, the blind can see, the lame can walk, the dead are being raised, and the poor have good news brought to them. Tell him what you see and what you hear. What is your witness of this messiahship that is taking place? The challenge comes because all for our expectations, we're still confronted with a reality that we witness, that we see, and that we hear something new that may be taking shape around us. But can we let those prison walls down around us to see and to hear that those are things of God? That perhaps it is something that did not meet our expectation, but perhaps is even all the more powerful. As I've learned in marriage to this point, after about 11 and a half years, the transformation was not on the wedding day itself, as beautiful as that was. The transformation has come incrementally, hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second, each day in and day out that we spend together. It's the withness. It's the journey together that is the transformation. Christ and his messiahship is a withness type of Christ. It's a withness type of Messiah. The good news that the Messiah brings is that the Messiah walks alongside of us and with us through doubts, through fears, through pains, through struggles, through joys, and through hopes. Jesus is the alongside with us in the midst of all of life's blindness and deafness and death and poor and spirit-naturedness. Christ is there. And two, the transformation that came from my experience in the Peace Corps certainly did not happen when I was there in mind, body, and spirit in that place and in that time. But it too has begun to sink into me years and years after the fact. Part of my transformation in that experience was that my frustrations that I experienced of being an outsider, of being someone not part of the culture, of realizing that my work was not bearing fruit and I couldn't understand it. That pain and struggle of not realizing my expectations was very difficult. But that was a journey that has now brought me to a place of saying, there are many in this world who do not have the privilege to not be an outsider, to not be struggling, to not have challenges in life. I needed to understand that component for myself to be transformed. I needed to be on the outside looking in. It is in that transformation of putting myself in someone else's experience that I'm reminded of how, again, the transformation of Jesus' messiahship comes to our world. The transformation comes from the inside out. Christ, in coming in and taking on our flesh and our livelihood and our bones and our skin, understands the pain and the struggles in ways that we know all to be so true. This idea of our expectations of Jesus' messiahship, we can imagine them to be this great, grand, and glorious thing. But where the transformation actually takes place for our journeys is to know that it is a day in and day out experience with Christ. It is not just the pinnacle of Christmas or of Easter where we find God at work in our lives and in the world, but it is in every day in between. It is in those times in which we have to check our expectations against the realities that we see. We have to be in a community that says to one another, I'm willing to know your experience, and I want you to know my experience, so that we can be truly a communion, one body, like Christ is one body. So in this third week of Advent, the challenge has come to us to check our expectations and to take the transformative power of Jesus' messiahship as something that is a journey with us every day of our life that will happen slowly and surely, but it will happen. And we will recognize that because we are in community together. We can see it through one another, and we are to bear witness to it. And we are to report back, just as John's disciples were to report to John, what we see and what we hear, the good news that we know to be true in our lives, and the lives that we learn from one another. Amen.